Chapter 14, First Day of Training. Sana, it's time. Good morning. Sana woke up instantly when Nayuta called. It was still pitch black outside, and it was around 3 in the morning, which was his usual time. The first thing he did when he woke up was check the amount of his magical energy and the list inside the spiritual thread storage. While Sana was sleeping, Nayuta's support caused the magical energy organs to overwork and grow, and he was stringing spiritual threads all over the place to gather items. So the number of items stored in the spiritual thread storage was increasing rapidly, so he needed to keep a close eye on it or he'd get into trouble. In particular, checking the amount of magical energy was dangerous if the crystallization of the magical organs reached its limit, as this would cause the organs to grow further. If he didn't have a rough grasp of the amount, it could be dangerous. A sudden change in physical condition, such as a fever in a survival situation, like the first time he caught a magical cold, could be life-threatening. From what Nayuta said, it seemed he had some control over it, so he had not lost consciousness. However, because of this, he was constantly in a state of magic cold and continued to have a slight fever. However, increasing the amount of magical energy he possessed was essential for the future, so he let Nayuta do as she wanted. Thank you as always, Nayuta. Hehe. I've finished scanning the structure of the souvenirs you got last night. Let's check the price and the condition they're being sold in at the morning market. I've only looked inside, but haven't eaten any yet, so I don't know what they taste like, but if I find something I like, it might be worth buying. Since it was a souvenir from that high-end restaurant, it was likely to be quite expensive, so it was something to consider with his budget. However, some of the ingredients are commonly used, just cooked in different ways. Because they are souvenirs from places like that, they seem to use expensive sweeteners and seasonings, but if you're okay with just unglazed food, it's cheap and easy to cook. Oh, that might be good. Nuts are good for quick meals when you're busy or as emergency food. After changing his clothes, he went downstairs and asked Nana, who was already getting ready for the morning, what he needed, then headed out to stock up and deliver the goods. Taking in the fresh early morning air, he began to walk while straining his body with magic. It was still dark, but the town was already bustling. Well, most towns related to primary industries tended to start early in the morning. Before the morning market opened, he headed to the collection and distribution center of the Hunting Adventurers Guild and accepted the job of delivering pito meat. This was a delivery service that went to homes that were unable to come in to purchase meat. Using a moderate amount of running and spirit thread transference, he delivered pito meat to the city and suburbs and checked for illegal traps. Both were important sources of income for Sana to repay his debts. I'm grateful that I can now share information directly with Jovia. It takes time to get Baragaro to check. I wish the rewards were direct too. Haha. Either way, it's the same because I'm paying off my debt. Especially since the bad traps are often noticed and removed by the people who set them while the authorities are still taking their time. Even if he just provided information about a discovery, he would receive some reward, but if he could secure the actual item, he could expect additional rewards during the subsequent investigation. Even if he could not be involved in the police organization of this planet or this city, as a member of the GP, he wanted to cooperate as much as possible to ensure the safety of the city. Thanks to Sana's patrols, minor illegal traps have visibly decreased. However, this means a decrease in income. There are still bad guys around, though. The most vicious ones were those involving criminal organizations, or those that gathered information on other nobles, sabotaged, or harassed them. Power struggles between nobles will never end. Jovia said the same thing. I don't really want to get involved in that, though. The Galactic Federation had the backing of powerful organizations such as Seto, Eri, and Mikami. Sana could have easily attracted the pirates and criminals and run away, but here he had no backup. In that sense, it was a stroke of luck that he met Jovia, but her power was limited to the Lord's power here. I feel bad for Jovia, but it would be best if we quickly pay off our debt and leave this planet. After finding some illegal traps and reporting them to Jovia's intelligence department, Sana headed to the morning market, which was now open to the public, to buy the goods Nana had asked him to buy. After completing his morning routine, he returned to Baragaru's house and helped prepare the ingredients that were requested, and then the morning began. Have a safe trip. After finishing breakfast, Sena was seen off by Nana and headed to the Hunting Adventurers Guild. It was a path he was very familiar with, but Sena's steps were lighter than usual. You look happy, Sena. Haha, it's just so exciting to think that I can officially become an adventurer. This feeling of excitement reminds me of the first time I went into space. Hee, don't get too excited and hurt yourself. After Nayuta warned him, Sena's usual cautious steps returned. In reality, the difference was slight, and the techniques etched into Sena, who had always been on the brink of death due to probability bias, were solid. Even though he seemed to be in high spirits, he was at a level where he could adequately deal with any trouble. However, there was a world of difference between preventing trouble before it happened and dealing with it after it has occurred. Thank you for pointing that out. It's times like these that I really need to be careful. Yuri, welcome. Entering the basement from the usual entrance next to the Hunter Adventurers Guild, the noise was particularly loud. The basement was a city that never slept, so someone was always working. Especially at this time, the pedo hunting children were gathered there, making it even more so. The training for new hunter adventurers took place in a conference hall close to the Great Hall, which also served as the children's gathering place. Looks like the number of children has increased again. He didn't remember all of the children from the pedo hunts, but he noticed that there were an increasing number of young children who were clearly new to the activity and participating for the first time. The border between the pedo hunting grounds and the magic tree forest has expanded considerably, so new settlers have been recruited and are moving in. The pedo hunting grounds were moved towards the magic tree forest, and the vacant space was turned into fields. Increasing the number of habitable places was how the people of Magic Tree Planets survived. Sena probably doesn't know this, but this city has seen a large influx of citizens from other nobles' territories who failed to develop their land. I see, so Jovia is also cheating on domestic affairs. There's no way she wouldn't do that. You are absolutely right. As he was about to pass through the passageway adjacent to the Great Hall, he glanced at the children, Sena-san. Raska called out to him and came running over. Her cheerful and refreshing appearance made me feel refreshed. Looking at her again, I can see some resemblance to Jovia. My first impression was completely different though. I agree with that. The polite Raska and the hedonistic, drunken old lady Jovia were like night and day. Good morning, oh, good morning. She used a very pleasant and polite way of saying good morning, and that alone was enough to cheer him up. I heard that you met my mother last night. Did she do anything rude to you? However, Raska's smile suddenly changed, and she looked at him with an expression of sheer pain. Yes, Baragaru-san introduced me to her. She's quite interesting. Please be honest. If you try to protect her, she will take advantage of you. She will get carried away and start to run amok. She is a walking disaster, a one-woman demon rampaging monster, who comes up with incomprehensible jokes and laughs by herself, and also uses powerful debuff attacks. That's quite a lot to say. Well, that's how it's going to be, isn't it? Moreover, my mother has no idea how to read the mood. She doesn't even try. If you feel even the slightest bit uncomfortable, please don't hesitate to let me know. I will take care of it, and if you need anything else, we also have a damage control team. The fact that there's a victims group makes her seem even more like a certain someone. Thank you for your concern. But there's no need to worry. I have my own reasons. I know quite a few people like Jovia. Oh, really? Really? No, Raska seemed confused, but was trying to figure out what Sena was talking about. Perhaps she couldn't believe that there were other people like her mother. So, I hate to say it, but I'm used to dealing with them. Of course, I get pushed around a lot, but I get into trouble all the time, so it's nothing for you to worry about. But that's too much, of course. If there are any problems, please feel free to consult with me. If I know someone similar to Jovia, then I automatically know someone in a similar position to Raska. Sena also smiled wryly as he remembered Minaho, Ringo, and the others. Huh? Yes, I see. So there are people like that. Raska also felt a little relieved to hear that there were people in the same situation as her. That's right. How do you warn Jovia when she causes trouble? How do I warn her? Well, I make her sit on a chair in a room and explain in detail what she's doing wrong. Just words. Yes, that's right, but you're telling me to use violence. Raska looked like she was about to cry. After all, she was a really good girl and didn't want to be violent with her mother. Oh no. Sorry, that was confusing. No, there are magic words that work on Jovia-san. There are such words? Yeah, I'm sure it will work very well. Sena smiled and whispered to Raska. Well, thank you. I'll try that next time. Raska's mood seemed to lighten as she returned to the line she was standing in with a bright look on her face. Up ahead, he saw Guska and Cheeto waving happily in his direction, so Sena waved back in response. Even so, it's a very interesting suggestion. It certainly seems like it would work well on Jovia. But I never thought Sena would come up with such a suggestion. Raska is a good girl with good sense and seriousness. She will inevitably do things in the proper way. But her opponent is someone like Eri. Even so, suggesting that to her in the first place doesn't really fit with Sena's image. Remember, Kai? What Kariko-san and Tsukiko-san were doing. Considering the power balance between Raska and Jovia-san, they're closer than Eri-san and Minaho-sama. I see. If you imagine it from that perspective, it certainly makes sense. Sena saw Raska and the others off and headed for their meeting place. The meeting place was a conference hall with several rooms, but its shape reminded him of a university lecture hall with stepped floors. Sena had never used it, but since it was close to the pedo hunting reference room and storage area, he had peeked in through the open entrance many times. The adjacent small conference room served as the reception room, where a familiar staff member was handling the check-in. Okay, here's your seat number. Make sure you're seated on time. Thank you. After being checked in and asked a number of questions by the receptionist, Sena peeked into the conference room. He had arrived at the guild a little early, but after talking with Raska, it seemed like the meeting time was just right. The people who had gathered to take the course were generally young in age, but there were also some who seemed older than Sena, so there was quite a mix of ages. I feel a little relieved. There were only small children around when we were hunting pedos. Pedo hunting was like vocational training before becoming a hunter-adventurer. Inexperienced people did not suddenly become hunter-adventurers. They always began with pedo hunting. However, in reality, no matter where you grew up, pedo hunting was usually a game that you were familiar with from childhood, and it was like helping with household chores, so it was rare for someone to be inexperienced as they approached adulthood. That is why it was rare for there to be an awkward situation of high school students among elementary school students like Sena. However, when it came to becoming a hunter-adventurer, there were many circumstances, such as people having other jobs, and it was not uncommon for there to be a large age difference. When he entered the room, there were already quite a few people there. Some were sitting, but others had gathered in a small space a little away, talking. They were probably acquaintances, or people who had formed a party. Where's my seat? As he headed to his reserved seat, he saw someone sitting in it, talking. Sorry, that's my seat. It's not time yet, is it? Just hang around here until then. A young man, about the same age as Sena, said this with an annoyed look on his face as he glared at him. Suddenly noticing the gazes of those around him, he looked around and saw several timid-looking people looking his way. Probably the same kids who were told the same thing as Sena. I see. Sena looked back at the young man. In that case, you guys can just move somewhere else. Since the seats are assigned, that's my seat. That's why I told you to wait until the time is up. Heido, it's as he said. We can talk about it later. Then switch seats with me. Since the guild assigned them, it's not up to me. Then hurry up and ask me. The young man, who was suddenly called Heido, slammed a left hook into Sena's liver without any preparatory movements. It was a splendid surprise attack, and he seemed quite experienced in fighting. However, bam! With a loud thud, Sena easily blocked the punch. Damn it. Heido, go back to your seat. And I have no intention of forming a party with you. Tisk. Let go. Heido violently shook off Sena's hand and walked past him. However, as if he wanted to release even a little bit of anger, he tried to slam his elbow into Seina's side as they passed each other. However, such a surprise attack didn't work on Seina. He easily blocked it with his elbow. Whoa. Hato was physically stronger, but Seina had received bio-enhancements and couldn't be budged. As a result, Hato was pushed out, and he stumbled unsteadily into the passageway. Damn you. His anger made him lose his footing, and as he tried to turn to look at Seina with an angry look on his face, he lost his footing on the stairs. Oh my god. Oh wow. And with that, Hato tumbled straight down the stairs. This commotion had attracted attention, and laughter broke out throughout the hall. Just as one would have thought that Hato would stop midway, he took a spectacular fall down the stairs, all the way to the bottom where the podium was. Some people couldn't contain themselves and burst out laughing, causing even more uproar in the hall. However, of course, there were a few people who were worried about Hato's fall down the stairs. Damn it. Hato stood up full of energy and glared at Seina. Yes, trouble like this is what makes an adventurer's guild. More importantly, is your body okay? I'm fine. I was strengthening my body while I was sick, and I scanned myself but found nothing wrong. I'm in great shape. Yes, that's the best thing. In that case, how should we deal with this? Just beat him up. It looks like that's what he was planning to do. Hey, don't you dare look down on me. Come here. As Nyuta had pointed out, he had fallen quite dramatically, but Hato glared at Seina with great energy. See? Yuri getting too carried away, Nyuta. Besides, some in the conference hall were hoping for a battle, but others were not happy with any more commotion. Seina was, of course, in the latter group. It's almost time for training to begin. If you really want to, how about after the training? Shut up. Who are you trying to be? If you want to be an adventurer, don't run away. That's right. Don't run away. The one who spoke from behind Hato was Jovia. Before he knew it, Jovia was there with a big smile on her face, clearly trying to egg him on. Those who knew Jovia were all silent, as if they were expecting a disaster to happen. The same went for those who had been expecting a battle, but about 30% of the people who must have come from outside were still beaming with joy and excitement. What's wrong? Come on. Hato, excited and humiliated, was full of enthusiasm and didn't seem to care about the mood in the hall. He beckoned to Seina with both hands. That's right. Go for it. Jovia said. Hey, are you scared? And Jovia, that's right. Hey, pitcher, are you nervous? Yeah. Hey. Jovia got even more excited and started dancing strangely behind Hato. She looked really happy. Shut up. You're making me sick. Just stay out of it, you old hag. Hato yelled in an irritated tone at Jovia, who was heckling from behind and getting quite annoyed. He's finished. At that moment, everyone who knew Jovia froze. Ho ho. All right. Let's have a duel then. Everyone, gather at the terrace arena. As if she had been waiting for this, Jovia shouted with the biggest smile on her face. Hey Jovia. We're about to start class now. Staff members who noticed the commotion rushed over and tried to stop it, but... Shut up. This is also a lesson. The staff who tried to stop her immediately decided that it was useless after hearing that shout. They were like, yeah, it's impossible. At this point, there was no stopping her. Sadly, the staff who knew her character well quickly ran off to discuss changes with the others and to call for backup. Hey, old hag, why are you deciding this on your own? Hato stepped further towards the edge of the cliff, a dive to his death. His ignorance was invincible. Huh? What? I wonder if Hato is scared too. You bastard. You think I'm scared. Haha, right? This is your chance to beat up the guy who embarrassed you in front of everyone, isn't it? Jovia pointed at Seina with a devilish grin. Heh, that bastard better run away. Yes, that's it. After being persuaded by Jovia, a duel was decided. It was unfortunate for Seina, but fortunate for Hato. Jovia's mood was in favor of Seina against Hato, so he was able to avoid danger, but if the scales had tipped toward the angry side, Hato's fate would have been sealed. The students were brought to the terrace arena, located almost directly above the large hall where the Pito hunting children had gathered earlier. This was an arena with special spectator seating in the above-ground facilities of the Hunting Adventurers Guild, and unlike the general training arenas and the underground arena for serious battles where betting also occurred, it was a place where hunting adventurer rank-up exam trials were held and demonstrations were given to nobles and guild executives. It was by no means a place that could be used for grudge duels, or so it seemed. No. This is a class for young people who want to become hunting adventurers, so it's fine, right? Jovia was trying to push through her argument with a forceful justification. The staff member she was arguing with this time was not the thin, office-type staff member from earlier, but a retired adventurer who is now working as a rough-and-tumble staff member. I guess it's just because this is the closest place. He was actually yelling at Jovia without hesitation, even though he had no intention of stopping the duel. Oh my, that's disappointing. I was thinking of their best interests. You're not just holding a grudge for being called an old hag and trying to execute him publicly because it seems funny, are you? Of course it's okay, right? And don't worry about Beard. Sena owed Baragaro money. If he were to be injured beyond repair, it would be a major problem. Of course, the staff knew about it. I understand. But we'll be the referees. If we let you do it, you'll never admit defeat and we'll try to keep going until the very end. That's not true. Stop talking like that. Yes. I'll leave it to you. You can stop it at the appropriate point at your discretion. Yeah, just watch the game quietly. Jovia smiled at him, and the staff member quickly turned to Hato to explain the situation. For some reason, however, Jovia ignored what the staff member said and skipped towards Sena. Come on, Sena. Don't be shy, just beat him up. Beat him to a pulp. No longer intending to hide anything, Jovia gave orders to Sena with her true feelings fully exposed. She really does look like some kind of evil female executive. That's quite fitting though. Jovia-san, isn't this a lesson for the young people? Shut up. People who have no manners and call girls old hags need to be disciplined properly. Then at least hide your personal grudge. Sena looked towards the rough-and-tumble staff member who had offered to referee the situation, hoping that he would warn him, but his hopes were dashed as he shook his head in vain, saying it was a waste. Of course, the other staff members were saying the same thing. Hey, hurry up. No matter how much advice you give him, it's no use, old hag. What the hell, you little brat. All right. I'm going to disable the bastard myself. I'll personally disable the bastard myself. Haha. Don't push yourself, you old hag. That's just a cold shower for the elderly. There were a few laughs and jeers from the students, but the majority were in a cold sweat at Hato's reckless words. The staff members were also all on their feet, ready to stop Jovia. Kill you. It was dangerous. The moment the staff were about to rush out, there's a phrase here too, cold water for the elderly. Yeah, I used it, and it spread. Sena's nonchalant remark immediately subsided Jovia's murderous intent. Regardless of how angry she may be, it was Jovia's nature to respond to criticism with a joke. The fact that the staff members who were about to rush out stumbled slightly was just part of the comedy routine. I see. Well, I won't ask who it was used on, but the point is, the boomerang came back to you. Who's the old hag? But that's a pretty good remark. Well, whatever. Putting the old hag aside, since you made that remark, I'm going to make Sena take responsibility for it. Well, I'm the one doing the duel. Sena was the catalyst, but Jovia was the reason it escalated to a duel. Of course, even if he told her that, she wouldn't think anything of it. Then I will settle my grudge in your place. It's a duel. Advice to Seinachi who is dueling. Go hard on that bum. Beat him up. Even if you say that out of personal grudge, it's not really advice. No. That brat has bad behavior that was caught in a preliminary investigation. Well, there are a lot of hot-headed hunting adventurers, but in his case, he's the type that drags everyone around him down and destroys himself. He causes trouble even during short waiting times, so there's no doubt about it. So that's what they meant by assigning seats? In short, seat selection was a test to see if there would be any problems. Hey, how long are you going to make me wait? Or are you seriously scared? If you want to surrender, just give me all of your assets and I'll forgive you. You've saved up a decent amount from hunting piddos, haven't you? Gahahaha. That's not enough. I'll make you my slave for the rest of your life. Heido-kun seems to have a habit of loudly proclaiming that he is stupid. Yeah, well, he's an idiot like that. It's only compassion to correct him in the first place, you know? I'll follow up afterwards, so just go ahead and do it. For some reason, Nayuta and Jovia's words are in sync. I understand. Sena replied, trying to hold back his laughter. However, Sena was also a person who had been exposed to various kinds of malice. He vaguely felt that Heido's nature was just as Jovia feared. Unless there were kind volunteers who could steadily correct him, in the end, one had to realize their own personality and correct it themselves through hard work. So, at this point, there was no choice but to eliminate him so as not to cause trouble to other people. So, what should we do? It is quite difficult to break an opponent's will to fight, isn't it? Judging from Heido's appearance, his specialty was striking, in other words, fighting. If Sena used the techniques he knew to neutralize him, he would likely not admit defeat. So it's a straight-up fight. Is it a show of strength? That's a difficult thing to get right. In a fight using bladed or wooden weapons, if it hit the body, it was considered a fatal blow, but with striking attacks, even if you stopped just short of the target, you didn't know the actual damage. With a type like Heido, he wouldn't be satisfied unless he could knock him down and make him unable to move. But doing that to Heido, who has no physical enhancements, was dangerous. Sena didn't know when he'd exceed his tolerance. Maybe a friendship will blossom while we're fighting? That's not promising. That was only possible if one had a certain degree of respect for the other person's strength from the beginning. Why don't you just shut him down? It just adds to the resentment. I think what Jovia is talking about is an overwhelming difference in power that doesn't even feel like it, but you have to make the other person aware of that, so the hurdle is just too high. Well, it's hard to discipline children. While he was thinking about it, it seemed like the preparations for the duel were complete, and the officials who were to act as referees had all taken their positions. The main referee, the rough-and-tumble staff member, explained the rules. No weapons are allowed this time. No hidden weapons are allowed. No attacks to the groin or gouging the eyes. That's it. Everything else is okay, but I will stop it if I judge it to be dangerous. Tisk. How refined. Are duels really so lax around here? From our perspective, it's just a pointless fight between kids. If you want to get serious, I won't mind if you do it somewhere within the guild. There's a place in the basement where you can do that, you know. The rough-and-tumble staff member easily evaded Heido's provocation. They didn't seem to care about the level of it. Well, there's no need for me to get serious against an opponent like this. Okay, Sena's good too. I got it. Now, both of you move 3 squares away. The floor of the arena was made of two-tone wood and was like a giant chessboard. Each square was about 2 meters square, so they needed to stand about 6 meters away. Disciplining children. That seems like something Kiriko-san would be good at. Ah, I see. At that moment, Sena remembered the intimidation used by Sido and others. Recently, Kiriko has also been using it a lot. It would be possible to make Heido realize the difference in their strength. But the problem was, the question is, can I really perform such a feat? Sena carefully recalled Sido and Kiriko's behavior up until now, but no matter how he thought about it, it seemed impossible for him to imitate them in the same way. At that moment, Sena felt as if the referee had given him some kind of signal. At that moment, his mind suddenly sank into a certain realm. This was what they called entering the zone, a phenomenon that occurred when Sena, who with his bias and probability, needed to instantly avoid danger by concentrating his mind. Normally, this was not something that could be done easily, but in Sena's case, it was a necessary skill for survival. And since there were countless situations where he needed it, it manifested itself quite naturally. As always, he kept his vigilance in all directions, directing it towards the area he sensed the most danger, which was Heido. At that time enough. Then he heard something and felt someone hugging him. Just a few minutes before the duel was decided. Kukukuku. You're such a brat. I hope Sena beats you up. Jovia, consumed by a personal grudge, made no attempt to hide it and looked forward to what was to come. Although she had never actually seen Sena in battle, It was clear from his demeanor that Hato was no match for him. Kukukuku. As for Hato, he glared at Sena with a grin, imagining the screams that would come from Sena due to the violence he was about to inflict, and seemed to be intoxicated by it. He thought that the incident at the conference room was merely a coincidence. He's bragging. This will be easy. Seeing Sena standing there in silence, exuding no fighting spirit, Hato was already filled with joy at victory and, above all, at having wiped away his humiliation. Both of you begin. However, the moment the referee gave that signal, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. Something different, abnormal, strange, that was all that could be said to be emanating from Sena. Everyone there, including Hato and the visitors, were overcome with an unidentifiable sense of unease, as if the ground beneath their feet had suddenly vanished and they had been thrown into darkness. And the moment it was clearly aimed at Hato, Jovia and all the referees were overcome with a shivering sense of something strange. Terrible. Jovia looked at the referee, who was still standing there, but that was because the referee was a veteran hunting adventurer. The strangeness that Jovia sensed emanating from Sena was the same as that of a high-ranking magical beast lurking in the depths of the magic forest, and the referee's vigilance did not allow him to act carelessly. Tisk. Jovia used the spirit thread teleport to move to Sena's side, and, careful to avoid stimulating him as much as possible, gently wrapped her arms around him and pressed her body against his, as if she were embracing a child. That's enough. Stop right there. Taking great care not to provoke him, Jovia fought desperately against her fear, suppressing the urge to run away. What? Thankfully, Sena immediately let out a voice that sounded like he had been caught off guard, and the strange aura that had been dominating the arena dissipated. That was close. At that moment, Jovia felt a deep sense of relief and a cold sweat broke out as her body relaxed. Jovia, the match is still on. It's over. It's over. Look at Hidachi. Where Jovia was pointing, Sena's gaze was fixed exactly 3 squares away. Hato was still in the same position as when the duel began, kneeling with his back leaning against the ground. A wet stain was spreading from his crotch. Hey, Judge. Stop acting like a fool and take Hidachi to the medical room. Oh no. Whoa. Hey, help me. Yes. The referees and officials finally started to react to Jovia's voice and ran over to Hato, including Sena, of course. Senachi is fine. However, when Sena tried to run over to Hato, Jovia tightened her grip on his hand and rubbed her body closer, as if to restrain him even more. I understand, so please let me go. Just a little more. Jovia blushed and rubbed her body against him. Well, half of it was because Sena's imposing presence had made her so weak that she couldn't stand up without clinging to him, but the other half was just her style. Wait a minute. What do you mean, a little more? No, it's fine. Hey, stop that. Don't rub up against me. But she was still Jovia. Her restraining techniques were surprisingly advanced, and her powers were enhanced by magic, so Sena could not escape from her. Of course, he could forcefully shake her off with all his might, but that would be pure violence, and it would undoubtedly cause trouble later on. I was damaged. If she were to say something like that, it would be ruin for him. The staff ignored the two of them as they performed this comedy skit and continued their work. Even after poor Hato was carried away, the two were left alone for a while. This was because the strangeness of Sena and the abnormality of Jovia had combined to create a truly dangerous zone, and no one was brave enough to try to break into the space. Maybe his lover, huh? One of the staff members who was watching Sena and Jovia's comedy skit from a distance muttered softly.